What is the most exciting thing that has happened in your mind over the last, let's say, 72 hours?
I
Over
think
the
turning
weekend,
Peter
even.
Schiff into a Bitcoin maximalist potentially is
Oh,
the most exciting thing in the world.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
I don't know if you heard about this.
Take us through it. Take us through it.
So over the weekend, Peter Schiff had his banks closed. So he is obviously a fund manager. So he lives in Puerto Rico, but the Puerto Rican regulators actually closed down Peter Schiff's bank accounts that actually had his customers' assets in them. So under the guise of not meeting net minimum capital requirements, is what they were saying. I'm not too familiar with hedge funds and how that works, but I'm assuming basically you need to have a net minimum amount of cash in there. And I don't know if he's moving assets around or whatnot, but ultimately they closed his accounts. Other people actually in Cafe Bitcoin this morning were speculating that he didn't disclose under proper KYC or AML laws that if one of his clients was moving money in and out of his fund, and if something weird was happening, it was an issue with not meeting basically anti-money laundering rules or KYC regulations. This is just a speculation, but they don't know. I mean, they could close down for net minimum requirements. They can close down for any number of reasons. The regulators of Puerto Rico actually have not commented yet. Peter Schiff is obviously claiming no fault of his own. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Pete, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the irony is staggering here. So, Peter Schiff, notorious gold bug, has been shitting on Bitcoin forever. He loves to, uh, you know, just fight with Bitcoiners constantly. His frame, of course, is that gold is the only sound money and that Bitcoin is just this crazy fad, which is hilarious. It's part of his brand. It's part of how he brings in more followers. But he's, a favorite punching bag of the Bitcoin space, and it is amazing that his bank account in Puerto Rico has been shut down. This is an incredibly strong case for Bitcoin, right? The whole idea of Bitcoin is that it disintermediates the process of transferring and storing value. So if you have your money with a bank, you are beholden to them, and at any time, for any reason, or rather for specific reasons, which they can shift and change, and they can surprise you with, your access to the value, the money that you have earned fairly can be taken away from you. And it is incredibly, the Schadenfreude is just massive here. That someone who is such a famous, popular person who shits on Bitcoin just experienced in real time the reason that Bitcoin is so important. It removes the need for banks and financial institutions, and it brings the power of controlling your own destiny financially into the hands of the people. So, man, if this is not a case for Bitcoin, I don't know what is. Some people I was talking to were like, "Oh my gosh, is Peter Schiff finally going to embrace Bitcoin?" No, no, he's fucking not. His entire business is built on him not embracing Bitcoin and arguing that gold is the only answer. But it is very, very funny. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'll just quote Peter Schiff himself here. So this is one of his tweets in response to what happened. Despite no evidence of crimes, Puerto Rico regulators closed my bank anyway for net capital issues. Rather than allow a sale to a highly qualified buyer promising to inject capital far in excess of regulatory minimums, as a result, accounts are frozen and customers may lose money. I'm not sure if that means that they could just keep the funds, but I think that this is to Bitcoin's ethos. Trusted third parties are a security risk. Whether that's Peter Schiff, whether that's a bank in the United States, whether it's a bank abroad, whether that's a lending platform like BlockFi, Celsius, or whatever, if you're trusting another party to do anything, it's a risk. Even to Bitcoin's ethos, like you download Blue Wallet or Moon Wallet or any of these different platforms, if you do not check the code, which I am not a coder or a computer science major, and I do not understand code that well. I understand the principles of it, but checking it myself is very difficult. I don't go line by line and say like this line says that. It's something that you can do, and that's they advocate for free and open source software. But that is a risk too. I mean, I know even just not to bash on Blue Wallet, but I like them a lot. But they were having issues with their custodial Lightning wallet just a couple, like I'd say 4 or 5 weeks ago, where people were having like it would said funds in transit, but then the funds would return to you because they couldn't find a way to route around it. So they're having issues with their custodial Lightning network. Pete, I don't know if you want to add to that. Basically, anything I said there.
Well, I think that it's a spectrum, right? So there is a massive difference between using a centralized bank or a centralized authority that can shut down your funds for any number of reasons, right? And the problem, one of the big problems, is that what tends to happen over and over again through history is that these centralized systems are used to kind of control the destinies of the people. So when basically the government decides that its own interests or the people that are in power's interests do not align with people having, their access to their finances, the banks will come up with a reason for basically limiting that access. We saw this in Canada with the sorry for the dog barking. We saw this in Canada with the Freedom Convoy and any number of other things throughout history that just continues to happen. So, to your point about Blue Wallet, it again, it's a spectrum, right? So one of the values, I don't actually think that everyone needs to understand how to code and to be able to read through line by line. That by having software that is ideally open source, you basically create a situation where more people, more eyes from people that are extremely qualified are able to, really sink their teeth into what's going on behind the scenes and then form strong opinions about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's also, I guess this is my one gripe with Peter Schiff as well. He only allocates 5% of his fund to gold. And to make matters worse, it almost like I'd give him a pass. Not saying I don't invest in gold myself. I don't advocate for people doing that. I think Bitcoin's far superior. But he even's like, oh, like you don't want banks confiscating your wealth. But then he even discloses that the gold that he has is stored in a vault at a bank. So it's like, he's like, yeah, 95% stocks outside the United States. And I've kind of heard his pitch before. It's like, dude, they're closing down your bank account. Your stocks are included in that. Yeah, they're closing your bank account. That's included. The gold that's in the vault in the bank is included in that. So it's like
sure.
he's exposed to all those risks, which I just find baffling, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
If there's anything else you want to add there.
Well, just if you own stocks or you own gold, really all that you have is an IOU for those assets. So again, when the government decides that you're a bad person, you did a bad thing, and they don't want you to have access to those funds, they will manufacture a reason for taking those funds or limiting your access to them.